I'd like to call this meeting to order, please. Please rise for pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Here. Listener. Pat.
Here.
Leszewski.
Here.
Readers.
Here.
Funkouser.
Here.
Rulitz.
Here.
Teeling.
Here.
A quorum is established.
Any amendments to tonight's agenda? Any citizen comments on anything that's on the agenda? I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Roll call. Seth, you're gonna have to keep up.
Leszewski.
Here. Hi.
Rulitz.
Aye.
Readers.
Aye.
Funkouser.
Aye.
Vogt.
Aye.
Teeling.
Aye.
Pat.
Aye.
Yes.
Procedure. Okay, well, moving on to the mayor's report. You know, it's unfortunate that Alderman Closemo's not here tonight. It is the first city council meeting he has ever missed, and we're actually entering into an agreement to sell the caboose. I'm sure he would have liked to have been here for that. So I'll entertain a motion to approve an ordinance approving the purchase agreement by and among Don Harbeck and the city for the sale of downtown caboose, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute. So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? I think it's a real good deal for the government. We bought it for $10,000, we're selling it for $5,000.
It's a deal.
How many years have we had?
Depreciation.
Appreciate it. Okay, roll call, please.
Teeling.
Aye.
Vogt.
Aye.
Pat.
Aye.
Readers.
That's a yes.
Rulitz.
Aye.
Funkouser.
Aye.
Leszewski.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the ordinance authorizing the third amendment to the annual budget for the fiscal year commencing May 1st, 2016 and ending on April 30th, 2017, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Vogt.
Aye.
Pat.
Aye.
Readers.
Aye.
Rulitz.
Aye.
Funkouser.
Aye.
Leszewski.
Aye.
Teeling.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I will turn it over to Alderman Funkhauser for the Public Works Committee report.
I make a motion to approve an ordinance establishing a filing fee for the program of notice and reporting of testing results for backflow prevention devices and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
Second.
Comments or questions? Roll call, yes, sir.
How many of these things we got?
On record, we have 1,100, but that's per address, so there may be more devices per address than just one.
I just want to say that in America, you can make money doing anything.
Compliance tracking of backflow prevention devices. It's an amazing career, so I'm actually I was reading the whole packet like, this is fascinating. It's a whole new market I've never even ventured into, so yeah, that's
A second career for you.
third.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
real quick, the only reason this is on the agenda versus consent, just want to make clear that this is actually something that we are removing from the general fund as a tax that we have on our levy. It will go and be a user-based fee now, so that is really a big part. We're pulling this out of something that we are absorbing as a, city public service. Now it will be something that if you have this system, you're going to be paying for it and a user fee. So
How do you know if you have it?
Well, I wanted to add to that. I originally, it was going to be a fee on the water bill or something that everybody paid. I was not for that, but being that it's a special hookup connection, i.e. a sprinkler system
Yeah.
or a pole, it's hard hooked up to the city water system. What's for?
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Teeling.
Aye.
Vogt.
Aye.
Pat.
Aye.
Readers.
Aye.
Rulitz.
Aye.
Funkouser.
Aye.
Leszewski.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Alderman Milszewski for the Administration Committee report.
Well, we don't have a motion for this, we just have some discussion. And for the last year, we've been looking at other options. We're already in the Aurora Area Convention Visitor Bureau, and we've worked very diligently for a year or more talking about this. So there's 3 options out there. Bart, did you have anything like for the options?
Yeah, the memo outlines all 3 of them. The Aurora Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is offering us basically 40% of our total contributions to be discretionary funds for Yorkville specific marketing. Heritage Corridor has actually offered us 60% of whatever we want to negotiate with them. There's some different drawbacks with them in that we're changing market areas, and they are membership based. So all of our businesses in town, in order to be in the marketing materials, we have to partner with the organization too. And then we can always create our own in-house bureau, and that's in there too. We can make that look however we want it to, but there is a sample budget that the city's tourism consultant had provided too. So really, we're just looking for feedback here. If you tell us that you like one direction or the other, we'll proceed with either creating an action plan or an ordinance or resolution to accommodate that.
And the committee really didn't have an overwhelming, it had no response to any of the 3. We thought we'd rather have everybody read it, comment, before make a decision.
Yes, sir.
All right, I called Carlo on the way in because I knew he wasn't going to be here, just to kind of get his feedback, and I gave him a succinct synopsis of each of the 3 options. So we'll leave AACBB where it is right now, but the HCCBB, the downside was the fact that you have to get buy-in from all the members that are already here. Seems kind of counterintuitive based on the fact that we've had all this work done by the AACBB over the last number of years, so that would basically be a process. And then the idea that we would have an in-house tourism service, that's kind of starting from scratch. And as far as I'm concerned, my biggest, not complaint, but my biggest concern about the AACBB was that we don't know what we're spending money on, and we don't know what the return is, and we don't really have any way of measuring it from year to year. How are you doing at markets? So the 3 things that impressed me the most from the AACBB's proposal for the pilot program, number 1 was the inclusion of the sports programs. As I've already told you, I think that's exactly what we got to do. And the only way that we're going to be able to tag on to the success of the Fox Valley Park District and that Stewart complex, which is huge, is to be a part of the organization that gets that place filled. And then when there's the smaller ones that wouldn't take up more than 1/5 of the land space, at Stewart, we can hop on them as far as our available parks. So I like that direction. I'm totally on board with that. The other is the fact that they've moved towards capturing the metrics of where their website is receiving traffic, where it's being sent to, and they have a better idea of where the business is coming from and where to continue to invest money in to get more business from. So I think that's an excellent move. Was it Allstate or State Farm? One of the guys that you got is from a very large business that is data-driven. So the fact that they're now using the data, which we've been basically screaming for the last 3 years, that's exciting. The third thing, which I'm the most impressed with and the happiest about, is the 40% of our money staying just to toot our own horn. I mean, now that we're going to be cabooseless, we need all the toots we can get. So I think having this in the contract, understanding going forward that 40% of our dollars should be cycled back to publicize our own events, I think that's important, because I kind of illustrated the importance of advertising, not to people outside the area, but if you look at your own population as tourists in and of themselves, the amount of money you get in return is unbelievable, because nobody has any idea how to spend money in their own city when all the tourism boards are from out of state. So I had mentioned to court last week that I finally saw one of these things pop up on my feed without having to look for it, and it was the top 10 events in the area. It had the place where the event was, the organizer of the event, and then either the brewery or the restaurant that was sponsoring the event. And then there was a brewery festival, and it had all the breweries listed, all of the potential vendors, even the bands were hyper there. So when you give someone that much information, it's highly unlikely they're going to be able to pass by it, because it was a smattering of pictures that all looked awesome, and that's exactly what we've been looking for the last 3 or 4 years. So as far as all of this stuff is concerned, I think the AACBB pilot program is exactly the direction we should go to. And Carlo, even though he's not here, I'll take his candy. Even though he wasn't here, he was super on board with the idea that, okay, we're gonna have dedicated dollars for Yorkville, and we're gonna be capturing metrics, and we don't have to change much besides what we're talking about right now. So that's, in my opinion, we gotta let them take this year and make the pilot program a success, because that's what we wanted in the first place.
Anyone else? Yes, go ahead.
Now, if we stay with Aurora, we're talking another 1 year, or what's the contract length?
Well, there's two separate items for discussion, and the pilot program is a year term. I don't know that you've actually formally talked about what the renewal would be, and that is sort of a co-decision for us to make and for the intergovernmental agreement entities to make as well. So has that been a discussion point, or?
The reason it is a pilot program is because there was some uncertainty of whether it would be successful and whether or not that Yorkville or the other eligible parties would actually buy in and utilize it. It was created as pilot so that if it didn't go as planned, that if the beneficiaries didn't see it to be worthwhile, it could be taken off and not have it as something that's lingering. With regard to the renewal of our IGA, obviously that's just a 1 year. The pilot program cycles with that, if you look at the dates, and that is so that if Yorkville decides in a year from now, we choose not to, and we were the only beneficiary of the pilot program, it could be repealed if it wasn't successful for the CVB as well. Part of it is the CVB is not certain how the pilot program will affect everything in terms of marketing funds, whatnot. So there's some tracking that needs to be done to see how it's going to work with the CVB, moving things around, tracking staff time for the dedicated funds. So that's where it is as being a pilot program and why there are, it was supported by the board. It is something that is put in place that the board is comfortable, putting out there to the eligible partners. But there was concern on, will it do what it's expected? And there were some very candid comments about, is Yorkville going to go for it? Or will they accept it? Will they like it? Will it work for them? And are they going to see a benefit? And candidly, that's for us to determine, because the pilot program will have approximately $28,000 for us to have staff put together a marketing program to have the CVB put in place for us. So itemize what we want to do. And if it's not successful, in part, it's going to be our fault. We're going to be responsible for what we're putting out there, but what it does is it gives us control. It's something we've never had directly, which we will have, but we also will have some responsibility. If we choose not to actually utilize the funds in the marketing campaign, that's to our disadvantage. Those funds go back to the CVB. They will just reinvest it as they would any other way. There are benefits to it. There are also some negatives to it. Negatives being we are taking money out of the general marketing fund from the CVB to tailor these programs. The program, I think, is beneficial to Yorkville. I think the CVB has made some major strides in the past year with the additions of our new marketing director and sales director. Those two positions, as Joel has said, have gone a long way to improve the information that's being sent back to the board. I haven't shared some of the new forms that have come back because it's I think we're in the second month of the new forms that we have received. Those will start coming out, so you'll see actually some information with custom-based information for Yorkville. So we're going to see how this works out. Joel mentioned heritage. I'll be very candid. I do not think that the heritage corridors demographics works with Yorkville. Speaking with our major attractions, our hotel and our water park, they do not feel that it's best suited for us to enter into the heritage. And I personally believe that as well. I don't think that it is best suited for us after looking at what they offer, what we have. One item to note about leaving the CVB, if we leave the CVB and join the heritage, Raging Waves, Hampton Inn, they cannot advertise with the Aurora area CVB. It is one of the policies that the CVB has in place that precludes non-members or partners from spending their money in that territory. It's a matter of trying to keep some control, and for those who are paying their taxes, or their hotel bed taxes, to actually get what they're supposed to get out of it. So that's a few of them. And then obviously there's the third option of going our own. That one, while it may be very, very beneficial to us in the aspect of we have full control, issues would be startup. It would be something, it is a full-out startup. We would have to ramp up and get geared up for that there. That could take some time, but we do have the SMG report that gives us an outline of what it would take, what we could do with our money, and it's not a bad proposal. So there are the three. My recommendation is to eliminate the one going to Heritage, and then our decision would be then, do we continue with Yorkville, or do we continue with the CBB or go our own? So if anybody has discussions, I know Quartz is here about the marketing proposal. If anybody has questions on that, it was in the packet.
The pilot program, where they give that money to Yorkville, are they doing that for other communities that are in the CBD? It's just,
Three of them, us, North Aurora, and Sandwich are
because
eligible.
I mean, it struck me when you said that it'll just, it shorts them out of their budget of doing things. So how is that, I mean,
There are qualifications that you have to meet in order to be eligible. Aurora is not eligible because they do not contribute 90% of their hotel bed tax, and you have to contribute at least $10,000. So there are only 3 municipalities that do qualify for the program. And when I mentioned that it would short the general fund, if you look at the total budget of what the CBB has, it's taking from the main pool, but it's putting it into
yeah,
other
so
categories.
we're just getting our own
Right.
stuff out there.
So it's going to be more customized. In reality, do I think that the CVB will see a major difference in shift of the marketing? Probably not. It's just, it's going to be more tailored towards Yorkville if we were to go that direction, go that route.
Yeah, I don't think it takes away from the organization as a whole, just because we're doing specific marketing. Yes.
So if we go with this, back to Aurora, with this 40% investment, that's going to take our staff time. How is that going to affect staff? If we're going to be giving them the information, I mean, how is that going to happen? Is that us providing them with the information, or I would assume?
We talked about this briefly in a meeting, staff level meeting, a couple weeks ago, but I see it more as, we would utilize the in-house AACBB staff as kind of like our staff for tourism services. And so we would basically broker, marketing, plan, overview, and, have them basically pitch to us, what their plan would be for the year. And then, so we would review it and say, yes, this looks good, or no, we were thinking about going in a different direction, and then bringing our recommendation forward to the board. So I don't really see it as much of a staff time issue for Yorkville, other than just like reviewing what they've produced, giving them some guidance, and then bringing it forward for everybody else to approve.
Okay, what would be an example? I guess I want more specifics. You know me, I'm just a Dowling Thomas. I've sat here a long time, and no offense to you, Court, but, you might not be here next year. We've gone through this. So, I'm just stating fact, okay? That's what I do. So, what's an example of this? After you talked to us, I've been mulling it, like, give me an example how this would work for us.
So,
how do you see this 40% working for you?
So let's say the Sports Alliance arm of the organization is successful in gaining a large regional softball tournament, okay, for a specific weekend. So they've gathered, I don't know, a couple thousand room nights, and they've told us about it, and it's a year in advance. We could go and say, okay, we know that there's going to be this many people in town and in the area for this. We'd like to do some sort of ad buy and place it in the Tribune or the Record, or just do a Facebook boosted post. And we want them to design the creative. Whether they do that in-house or sub that out to an actual ad agency is up to them. But I would look at it and say, if you tell me, as the tourism experts, how you think we should market this event. If there's like a city festival going on, that we can kind of incorporate it, or if we're just gonna like spotlight like a local restaurant or the movie theater or something, and come up with something that we can say, hey, it's $5,000 and give me the best, reach for that money. And then tell us what you think is a good idea to do. We would review their plan and then approve it or deny it. So that could be one example. But I would imagine, like in the heritage model, they will sit down annually and will say, we want to spend out of this, 30 grand, 5 of it on website search engine optimization. And they're going to spend 5 on print ads, and they're going to spend 10 on TV ads, and the other 10 is going to be, a special, full page ad in their catalog. So I would imagine it would be like a high level meeting to kind of break out a budget, but then it would be reviewing individual deliverables. And then we have a completely different plan on how to interact with us, and that'd be fine. But that's how I see it, is, I would look at it from a very high level guidance with the clients and, let them produce some stuff for us each year.
Just a note, I may be misspeaking, but I believe they said Waging Waves belongs to the Heritage. They are a member, they pay there.
Correct. Yeah,
Just
they
so to
advertise
clarify that for the people who aren't there.
pretty significantly with them.
Yeah. Well, just because we made the statement that other people would, other entities would have to buy in, like say
Yeah.
Hampton would.
I think
Waging Waves is.
Yeah, Chris's point is if we joined Heritage, then Raging Waves would not be advertised with the warrant.
Right, but there was also that they would also have to become members of it.
Yeah.
That was stated, but they already are.
Sure.
They're one,
Sure.
just for
Right.
clarification of everybody.
And if I could too, now, the Aurora Area CVB is not a membership organization. You cannot buy into it. The only members are the communities that are entered into the intergovernmental agreement, the 10 member communities. Somebody from down in the Heritage.
So we don't get 5 whole page ad?
They cannot,
Not
and
anymore.
not and that's part of that, but by the bylaws, it's not a membership organization, so you can't buy in. But the Heritage is, if the Hampton wanted to spend $10,000 on an ad buy down in the Heritage Corridor, they could. Raging Waves does that on a regular basis. They spend a lot of money in that corridor. That corridor goes from Chicago out to Utica, so for them, it makes sense. If we were to transition to the Heritage, they could not do market buys, ad buys in the AACVB due to the restrictions of the CVB bylaws. So those are a couple things to keep in mind.
Sorry, a point of clarification about the intergovernmental agreement. I think there is one more year left on it, and we were required to notify them within it. So there's no issue other than we just have to notify them whether we are stepping out of the organization or whether we're remaining.
Do we need to take a vote tonight?
Or just a consensus of which way we want to go, or we can bring it back in 2 weeks probably.
Correct.
But now on this, Chris, now in the pilot program, it mentions that the Convention Bureau staff time is not a part of our 40% or $28,000. After the pilot program, was there any discussion at the board level about maybe charging these 3 municipalities for a CVB staff time?
During the exploration of the program, that topic was discussed. Does staff time get put into it? And that was ruled out. So it was vetted, and it was decided that that was not the best use of time, and that was not the intent of the program, was to track time against the $28,000 or 40%. So is it possible that it could happen? Yes, as this is a pilot program. Is that the intent? No, not at all. So, and myself, I sit on the executive board, the ones that created this program. This is one of the ideas that I had brought forward to the board and to the executive, and this is what came out of it. I do think it's a good program. I hope that it would be successful for the city, that our staff would be able to work together with the CVB and create something that we can take some ownership on, and actually, with the new staff that we have, start creating something that works in our benefit, that we can see the returns that we've been asking for. I think we're heading in the right direction.
It just seems like everything that we complained about and everything we asked for is kind of addressed in this pilot program. We've asked for accountability, some sort of tracking mechanism, some more input. I think this kind of addresses all three of those issues. Yes, ma'am.
Back in May, Bart, when you had, there's a memo in the packet, we talked about the Heritage Corridor. Do you feel, at that time you were saying that, that's what we've been asking for. They offer what we've been asking for.
Yes.
Do you think this is, from Aurora, is it your opinion? I mean, you talked to the people and did the research on Heritage. This is getting closer? Is it better? What's your comparison?
My
This-
assessment
this
is
offer.
that Heritage is a larger and more established organization with more staff members that probably have different skill sets than Aurora had in the past. I think with some of the recent hires, they've caught up expertise-wise. And so it's, half of it is buying power, with different ad agencies and media outlets. If they've got a larger budget, theoretically they throw, maybe a little bit better value at like a unit rate. But is it going to be a large amount? I doubt it. And with Heritage too, you do get 20%, more discretionary funds, and they are kind of like a, consultant-based organization where, we decide each year how much money to put in, and really we negotiate it every year. So it's different. I think that the Aurora Bureau, with their sports focus, has the potential probably to be a little bit more locally beneficial than Heritage was. Heritage is not going to be able to put up the type of sports tournament leagues that Aurora.
Good job. Anyone? Go.
Yeah, no, I look at these three options, and I think Alderman Funkhauser hit on it. Heritage Corridor looks like a great organization. I just don't see Yorkville being geographically compatible with them. I don't see how we fit there. And the third option of doing it in-house, I mean, staff's got enough going on in the near future here that, I don't know. I'm impressed with the pilot program. I'm encouraged by it. I think that's the way I'm leaning right now.
Yes, go ahead.
The third option, how, can you explain how that would affect staff? Like,
It all depends on how much of the discretionary budget we want to use towards, nuts and bolts issues versus like management of the service. So in the budget that the consultant recommended, a fair amount of it, especially at first, would be on staff for, selecting a website vendor, working with the website vendor to create the website, to, probably administer some of the ad buys, to review the different, creative materials that's produced for the ad buys. I haven't sat down and figured out how many hours it would be, but it would be fairly intense. I
would we
think,
be
for the first
looking
year.
at having to probably hire someone, you think, to do that, to alleviate?
I hadn't really thought it that far in advance. Certainly, if we hire somebody, it would be, beneficial. But, $65,000 is a fair amount of money. And you might be able to just, get consultants to do some of the limited things and just kind of muddle through it for the first year or two.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
So as I said, the Heritage Corridor, I would recommend against that. Our third option of going our own, that would take a lot of startup. It would be something that would have benefit. I think there's potential that if we did that, it would be a great opportunity for shared services with Oswego, who is very compatible with us in size, amenities, location. So if we were to choose to go option 3, we do have some benefit, I think, if we wanted to try to go that route. We've seen some substantial increases in our hotel bed tax numbers that have come in. Since I've been on the board, I've seen it go from $55,000 to approximately $70,000 plus for the estimates for this year. So those numbers are going well. The downside of the third option is the startup time and creating our image. My recommendation to the board, to our council, would be to stay with the CVB. I would ask that we would address it formally through a resolution if we could, in order to commit. As I know we don't have any requirement to stay with them in terms of acknowledging it, but I think it would be my recommendation to say that I would ask that, in 2 weeks, we could commit to the CVB formally with the resolution to stay another year. We have options to do it our own or go other directions, but I am pleased with the changes, the proposal, and the direction that the organization is going as of the past 10, 12 months with the changes that I've seen.
Diane?
Yeah, I just want to say that, we've been talking about this for a long time, and I feel like the CBB has pretty much fulfilled everything that we've asked them, and I thought we should have stayed with them initially, and I still do, and I guess I just want to say thank you to Chris for doing all this, because you really did work hard at it, and I appreciate it, because I think it's a great program. I thought, I didn't really feel like we should be doing our own anyway, and so this is a great alternative, so thank you for doing that, working so hard on it.
Jackie?
Well, I'm glad that something's been, maybe our looking outside has caused Aurora to look at us a little more seriously. I guess it is a year. I think that we need to still keep in the back of our mind one of these other options, because it's all on paper right now, it's a pilot program. What if it doesn't work for us? That we're back where we were, going through another year of it. So I think that's something everybody should keep in their mind, is the what if, because we've been through this how many years? And I don't mean to put them down, but I'm just leery of it. I've been here 16 years, and it's been the same. So I think we should just maybe halfway through assess it to see, is it working for us? Because it's new for them just like us too. But if it's not going to work, then what are we going to do? Are we back to square one? So.
Seaver, do you have something?
Well, I just feel that the pilot program really does respond to the concerns that I heard in this group a year ago. I'm willing to give it a shot and see what happens. I think it's the best alternative of the three that have been presented. So I'm supportive of it.
I just wanted to add to that, the fact that our the income is going up in our hotel tax is, obviously something's working. So just the fact that it's gone up that much is kind of an indication that is working. I know it's not because of the pilot program, but the CVB has clearly been doing something all along.
I think with the pilot program, we'll find out if it's gonna work or not pretty quick probably, so. Just go like that approach. If we see it's not working, probably 6 months we'll know.
That's what I'm thinking, in 6 months. Take a look at it and see if it's working.
Okay, and Larry, you think continue on the same as everyone else, monitor and continue? Okay. I think it's pretty much a consensus to go with the pilot program, keep an eye on it. No, I like the direction they're going now.
I'll look at the formal notification provisions in the intergovernmental agreement. I think it will require a vote at the next city council meeting. So we'll draft that for the next meeting, and it'll be ready to be voted on.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, any community or liaison reports? Any staff reports? Additional business? Any citizen comments? Meeting adjourned. Down 2-0.